I used to be an exhaustive determinist, what I refer to as an exhaustive divine determinist. So not only was I a 5-point Calvinist, I applied that across the board, that determinism across the board universally, and therefore I reached the conclusion that I did not have free will.
Can you tell us maybe a little bit about the ideas that went into the work that you did, your dissertation, and your book?
Yeah, well, a lot of it started even before I went to Biola University to do my master's degree. I did start thinking quite a bit about the topics of free will and determinism. In fact, I used to be an exhaustive determinist, what I refer to as an exhaustive divine determinist. ED is a good acronym to remember that by, exhaustive divine determinism. I used to affirm that. So not only was I a 5-point Calvinist, I applied that across the board, that determinism across the board universally, and therefore I reached the conclusion that I did not have free will. I started interacting with atheists and realized that they called themselves free thinkers, but at the same time denied free will. And I thought, well, that's kind of contradictory. And I started pressing that more and realized, wow, if they believe that physics and chemistry ultimately runs the entire show, and if physics and chemistry causally determines them to affirm a false belief, then they have no ability to reason otherwise. They have no ability to infer or affirm a better or true belief. And yet they claim to be free thinkers. And I realized, well, that's a problem. And then it hit me. And I realized, wow, I've got the same problem, but for different reasons, because I believe that God causally determined everything about me. And even when I would affirm a false belief, I believe that God made that happen. And therefore, it would be impossible for me to infer or affirm a better or true belief. And so I started really studying free will and different views of free will, and came to the conclusion that we do have to have free will in the libertarian sense, at least occasionally, at least in appropriate circumstances, if we are really going to affirm that we are rational creatures who can rationally infer claims of knowledge and affirm claims of knowledge. And so then I realized, okay, how are we going to make sense of that? And so, yeah, I've really spent the last decade focused on this issue.
Yeah.
As a Christian, then, when I realized, wow, I've got, I do have to affirm free will. What do I do with all the passages of Scripture that I thought made it clear that determinism was true? And so in my book that you already showed, I spent so much time, not just with the philosophical arguments, arguing for libertarian freedom, but then with Scripture and theological arguments, trying to make sure we have a systematic view that all works with each other, that's not affirming any contradictions, and makes sense of all Scripture. So that's, in a nutshell, what's behind the book.
That's wonderful to start out with. And again, like I think what I want to start with here is a lot.